In previous session, we used this example to determine the average velocity of a car in its trip from A to F. Now we're going to use the same example to find the average speed of this car as it moves in these different time intervals and positions. To differentiate between the magnitude of the displacement, as this displacement is a vector, and the distance in this example of the car, and also to demonstrate the difference between the average velocity and the average speed, let us see how can we determine the distance from the curve and then the average speed. Let's see how can we calculate the total distance from A to F and from the table and then locate it on the graph. From the table we can take the difference between A and B as a distance, the 25 minus 30, which is 22 meters, and then we can locate it on the curve as AB equal 22 meters. Similarly, the absolute difference between B and C here, the difference without taking the sign, of course, because we are measuring here, or we are determining magnitudes, and the magnitude doesn't have a minus sign. So the difference between B and C is 14. Then we'll get it on the curve here, BC. And likewise, the difference between D and E represents the distance DE, which is obviously, of course, CD is 38 and put it on the curve. And similarly, the absolute value of D minus E is 37 for DE, and then put it on the curve. In a similar manner, we can calculate the distance as the absolute difference between E and F, which is 16, and then put it on the curve. So the total distance will add up all these distances, 22 plus 14 plus 38 plus 37 plus 16, and that is the total distance of the trip. By obtaining the total distance from A to F as 127 meters, we can easily determine the average speed by dividing that of the total time interval needed for the trip, which is from 0 to 50, that is 50 seconds. So the average speed obtained is actually a scalar quantity, and the magnitude of it is different from that obtained for the average velocity. So it's very important for the students to differentiate between the average speed as a scalar quantity and the average velocity as a vector quantity. Here, a moving car having an oil drop falling from its engine every 5 seconds all along the 600 meters distance of its motion. The average speed as measured in meter per second. Which one of the following is correct? Is it 20, 24, 30, 100, or 120? Well, the answer is B, 24 meters per second. A car travels a trip from A to B, a distance of 1500 meters, and then come back to the same starting point A in a time interval of 250. The average speed and average velocity can be determined and have the values of 0 and 6, 12 and 0, 12 and 6, 0 and 12, or 6 and 12? And the answer is B, 12 and 0.